Hey guys, Rohan here, coming to the closure of the Def Leppard album review. We've got two more albums to actually get through, and what we discussed in the last installment for the Rock Brigade series was about the album Yeah, which was a covers album which came out in 2006, and how Leppard was really looking to really trying to look and try and see how they could move things forward and create a really fun, rock solid record which Phil at that point in 2007 said would be a completely rock album and would be something which would really please fans in a big way. So Leopard really put a lot of heart and soul into this one, and they initially released the title track, which made me kind of wonder how this album was going to sound, because this album was essentially going to be called Songs from the Sparkle Lounge. While songs from The and Lounge sound fine to me, the word sparkle, well, I really wasn't sure. Were they going to go back to a kind of pop oriented sound like the album 10? Or were they going to do something which, might please everyone like the albums Adrenalize or Hysteria, or maybe Euphoria, or even incorporate some elements from retroactive or slang? And what they ended up with was something which I regard as a really rock solid and classic release, which was this album, which was Songs from the Sparkle Lounge. I rate this as a really top-notch one. In fact, I would rate this as my second favorite album, right after Slang. This album essentially shows a band that has been recharged, reinvigorated, thought about something, staying true to their roots, but at the same time looking forward, trying to see how they can create an album that is great start to finish, rock solid, and really deliver something which is going to be memorable. And that they did achieve with this album. In fact, it broke them back into the top of the charts in so many areas. People began to take notice of this album again, this band again, sorry, and notice this album and actually embrace it for everything that was, and the kind of promotions and tours that actually followed really demonstrated how Leopard had come back to the top of their game with this particular release in 2008. And what's interesting about this album is that it was an album which you can clearly see the band is so comfortable being Def Leppard. They weren't trying to be or try and change the sound for anything. They were trying to create an album which they would really be pleased about, and it really went down well with fans. Fans just loved this record. It was huge. It was really, really big. Probably not as big as the big, IA albums or Adrenalize or something, but definitely an album which sits right up there, saying that yes, this was a classic record. And just from the first song, which is the word go, it had me from the word go. The heaviness of the song reminded me of Desert Song. It reminded me a bit of Slang. It just reminded me that this was not only a rocker, it was kind of like in the vein of having this slightly progressive sound, this kind of drum and bass and everything. And the way in which this album actually, the song actually starts the whole album off is really, really good. It's got this interesting drum beat and so on. Now, the only question I have out here is a lot of fans have said that this song somehow sounds a bit like Rocket with the drum beat sound. Now, I don't quite get that, because the thing is, it doesn't sound anything like Rocket. In fact, there's another song later in this track listing that I think sounds more similar to Rocket rather than the song Go. But you be the judge, you check it out, you tell me what you think. The next song was actually a song called Nine Lives, and this is the first time Leppard actually had a co-vocalist. They invited Tim McGraw, the famous country singer, to be a part of this record. He co-wrote the song with them. They sang it. It is a great song. It sits right up there with Let's Get Rock, Armageddon, Promises, Photograph, you name it. The big heavy numbers. Nine Lives has earned its right to actually be up there. It is a huge hit. People love it during concerts and so on. The main thing is that I just felt when I heard the song, the title Nine Lives, I really wish they'd called this album, excuse me, Nine Lives, because the funny thing is, if you look at the discography, this is actually the ninth studio album. So nine, the word nine matches so well. And when you say Nine Lives, well, when you think of the band's name Def Leppard, and you think that, okay, Leppard, part of the Cat family, or Pantera, and you think to yourself that, well, cats have nine lives, so Def Leppard, despite all the battles, like Rick's accident, losing Steve Clark, the musical scene changing, everyone, trying to just target them, everyone trying to bring them down and so on, but they still survived and so on. It's literally like they had nine lives. They had so many points where they could have cashed in their chips and said, that's it, we're done, but they kept on forging ahead, and they finally went back to the top of the charts despite all the criticism and despite all the fact that everyone said that they should quit. They did it. So I just felt Nine Lives would have been a really awesome album title for this. But anyway, that's not what they chose. So we'll just accept that and we'll just move on. The next song, which is Come On, Come On, this is a song I actually feel which is very similar to Rocket. It is a song where the drum tracks, match very similar to Rocket in some sense. But don't get me wrong, it is not a copy of Rocket. It is not them trying to rehash anything. It is a brilliant song. It is a song that catches you. It is a song that is melodic. It is a song that is progressive. It is a song that, demonstrates, all the good elements you love about Leopard, with them, really showing that they enjoy what they do. And that really shines in this track. It is really, really good. The song Love is perhaps the only ballad on this track. And why I say perhaps is because there is another song which I think is ballad-like, which we will discuss. But Love is definitely a ballad-type song. But it is not a song, which you will make you feel like, oh my God, is this candy pop or something? It is so well thought out. It has got an acoustic set of elements. It has got this heaviness. It has got this mixture of sound in the middle that, kind of transports you and makes you wonder like, wow, I didn't know a song could change like the way this song is changing. And it really grabs you. And then you get into a song called Tomorrow. And Tomorrow is essentially a really awesome track. And I would say awesome in the sense that the way it starts off to the way it finishes, the way Phil is demonstrating his guitar chops out here, the way Viv is, backing up with a solid harmony and so on. It really demonstrates, how Leopard can create a very contemporary sound and actually, make sure that, you recognize that as being Def Leppard. It is a really good album track. The next track, which is Cruise Control, is essentially a song which was primarily Vivian's song. And the thing is that and on this album, it actually demonstrates with all the 3 songs he wrote how diverse they are, so how diverse a player he actually is. And what's interesting about Cruise Control is that it starts off with this very interesting bass sound, and then it kicks into the actual album, and this whole mixture of guitar riffs and so on. And it gives you a sense that, how they've used different elements all across the place to make the song work. The next track is Hallucinate, and this you can recognize immediately as being a standard Def Leppard song. In fact, it sounds almost like it was a Euphoria song in some way, the basic riff. And this is perhaps the song which I would probably pinpoint as my only complaint point, simply because I just felt the chorus could have had a little more punch. But other than that, the soloing, the vocal range, the guitaring, everything like this on this song is really, really good. Rock Solid is here. It's a really good song, definitely not a filler. Only the Good Die Young is the 3rd song in Def Leppard's discography, which is dedicated to Steve Clark. And this was a song Vivian actually wrote to Steve Clark, and actually wanted to convey his feelings about, Steve. So unlike Blood Runs Cold, which was the other 4 guys talking about how much they miss Steve and on Adrenalize, what Steve was going through, this was a song which Vivian was kind of trying to convey about the fact that, that even though he had to step in for Steve not being in the band anymore and actually being a part of Def Leppard, he still holds Steve in very high regard. And I think a lot of fans and a lot of people and even the band themselves really, acknowledge and respect Vivian for, being that kind and, that generous towards, remembering Steve and actually acknowledging, his greatness and so on. So this song really encapsulates that. It's got a slight Beatles, Sgt. Pepper type element to it, but still nothing that you could term as something which is soft and boring. It is something which is really good. It just takes you and it just says that yes, this is part of the trilogy of songs that is dedicated to Steve and Steve would be proud of. Bad Actress is a song that was primarily by Joe, and it's really good because what I love about this song is in the middle it's got this really nice raw edge to it, but in the middle you can actually see Phil and Steve having fun again. It's kind of like on the song Kiss the Day, on the album At 10, and how Phil and Steve are just having a lot of fun, playing solos and bouncing off this cool harmony with each other. So this is really what's interesting about this. It's a really good hard track. Come Undone is the song which I was trying to say earlier, sounds like it could be the second ballad for this song. Some guys don't regard it as a ballad, some guys do. I regard it kind of like a ballad track, and the simple fact that it sounds almost like the title track, simply because Joe starts off by saying, "Hello, welcome, enter, we got you front row center for the Freak Show Parade." And if you look at the album cover, which is here, which actually is a mixture of the band from different eras, Steve's on there, different albums, so parts are mentioned out here. You can actually see things like Marilyn Monroe out here. You can see Statue of Liberty. You can see their parents are mentioned out here, the road crew, and so on. So it's kind of like, this is really the freak show. But it is a good show. It's something, where you are standing on stage looking out at this entire audience. And that to me, somehow symbolizes this could be something which is suggestive of being, where the whole songs from the Sparkle Lunch, or the Freak Show, the album cover, really it all ties in. Too much of interpretation, maybe, but that's just my thought. The final track is Gotta Let It Go, and again, this is something which Vivian wrote, and it really demonstrates a really cool sense of, you know, how it has a soft build up, you know, to before the chorus kicks in, and the chorus comes in and hits you really hard. It's almost like saying that you're traveling down on a river that's going smooth, and all of a sudden these rapids show up again, and then you're just going floating down that way. So this is what the song does, and it's a really cool way in which it actually concludes the album. So all in all, Songs from the Sparkle Lounge is a classic Leopard record. It is something that, you know, is worthy to be sit out there. It is something which fans have enjoyed, really set the tone, really makes us look forward to what the next release might be, and how we might, you know, see how things pan out for Leopard in the future. But in the meantime, do check it out. It's an album that you will enjoy if you loved Adrenalize and Hysteria, and it is an album which I would even personally say deserves to actually might even be part of that whole IA trilogy pack. That's just my opinion. You let me know what yours is, and let's see what we have to discuss in the final installment of the series so far. So see you then.